Hello, Chads and Stacys, and welcome back to another episode of. Actually, before we get started, let me hit you with 3 words: Arizona, mucho mango. With that out of the way, boys, let's start. Let's talk about being a hater. I got Arizona all over my hands. Let's talk about being a hater. Let's talk about the philosophy of a hater. In the year of Kendrick Lamar, jpegmafia, and Judgmental TikTok comments, being a hater is getting to the point where we might have to make, like, rankings. Like, yeah, bro, I'm global elite, I'm banned in 4 different Twitch chats, and Grimes has me blocked on Twitter. Personally, I think I'd be silver. My hating days are well behind me, but on the topic of hating, have you ever been talking, and then someone just jumps in ranting, and you find yourself going quiet because no one probably wanted to hear what you were talking about in the first place, or at least you feel that way? If you have, then I apologise. That sucks. You know, you're talking about something that you're passionate about, and then someone comes in and be like, oh, dude, shut up. Kanye sucks. I've been there. That sucks. I've both been the person on the receiving end and the person butting in, and either way it feels terrible. There are a lot of reasons that this, like, immediate negativity is present. And I thought we'd go through that today. One of those reasons I personally believe is cynicism, which I've already made a video on, but it's worth mentioning again, especially because I buried that video immediately. Internal feelings of, like, anything really, can be buried, but they'll leak out, and I think one way this comes through a lot with a lot of people is cynicism. This general negative questioning and doubt of everything within eyesight is completely miserable, but it's how a lot of people live their lives. It feels good to think you're better than something, and that sentence describes a lot of the interactions you'll see on Twitter now. Despite all that's going wrong, you can see and point out the bad and unfair in something, and that gives you a little ego boost of, you know what, I'm right. I'm better than this thing. I'm pointing it out, and it gets like a tiny part of that negativity out, which feels good for a very short period of time, but what will happen is slowly that negativity will envelop your way of communicating as you realise that you can only express like a backhanded level of contempt. And I'm not innocent of this. I've historically been very dismissive of things I don't like, and you can see that even on this channel, often with very little thought too. And while I might be saying this as a cope, I think this is something that a lot of people do, not just me. Since high school, I would be so quick to be like, insert blank sucks, and blank is boring. It'll probably be no surprise to you that at this time, 1, I was watching a lot of commentary videos, and 2, I was absolutely miserable. If a lack of whimsy was diagnosable, I would have been an open and shut case, believe me. Everything I liked was amazing and smart and cool, and you just didn't understand it. And everything they, whoever they are, liked was vapid and shallow and boring. It's safe to say I was generally insufferable. I think we can agree a lot of this is being defensive, right? Like, if you were alt in school then anyway, you probably got bullied, or at least picked on for the way that you were. And it's really easy from that to, like, grandstand and be like, actually, you suck, and I'm better, you just can't understand me. Which you see a lot of that on the internet now. If you dislike something, it's because the person who likes it is actually 4D brain. But what you come to learn later on, what I had to learn later on, is that this, like, being defensive just makes it way worse because you put a target on your back, essentially. Going back to the they that I mentioned, I think they also play a large part in this. I don't think you can have a discussion about judgment without mentioning, like, separatism and individualism, which are 2 things that are more and more popular every day. There is an inherent connection between separatism and individualism anyway, but I think they're more connected than ever. A phrase that really highlights this part is, why does everyone have a podcast? Now look, I get it. I'm sick of hearing uneducated opinions too. But why do we only view things as valuable if they're rare? We've created a system where if something doesn't have a barrier to entry, then it's not of note, which will then accidentally diminish normal things that still have value, which is in turn leading to divisiveness. If the club status or achievement is something that is hard to get into or hard to be recognized within, then we view that as value, when realistically it's actually not. It provides no personal value to you, the person, and this is something that you'll hear musicians talk about a lot, where you are given accolades and you are put in a part of a club instead of being rewarded for what you've actually done. If your entire music career has been locked in a 360 contract and you've never earned the money that you should have from it, but you have 5 Grammys, you're less likely to complain. So me, as like a regular person playing into this ideal of, like, if it's rare then it's valuable, or also perpetuates things like that, which are incredibly bad systems. Another reason for that divisiveness, I think, is a reaction to where we are generally, which while making this video I spoke to a friend about this, and they made some amazing points and put it a lot better than I could. So I've brought in a guest to talk about it, so without further ado, Taslo, take it away.
I think with the lack of control among younger generations, we are very burnt out and easily made apathetic with race politics, climate change, human rights being tampered with or taken away, the out-of-touch nature of the government, and also Palestine. It's quite hard to be confronted with all these problems and still have enough empathy for ourselves by the end of it. It's got to the point now where protests don't really work and there's an even bigger divide within class and policies. So when you have no way of changing the problems around you, you just stop seeing them as problems and stop treating them less seriously and start becoming apathetic to other people's problems. I think the best example I can think of on a large scale would probably be the treatment of homeless people and how they're not concerned that they're homeless but rather where their money is going to go. It's sort of a bass-backwards logic. It's like being concerned for the condition of a car after someone has just been run over by it. We keep seeing the end times and people who stoke the flames like Johnny Harris and Philip DeFranco by manufacturing consent, giving people this twisted hope that their learned apathy can be applied to immigrants or other soldiers from different countries. To be able to let go completely and feel nothing. It's nothing short of terrifying, and it's such a large scale too. With this has also come the rise of nihilism and stoicism, which in my opinion is a plaster on a stab wound. With stoicism, there's this idea of being able to handle your emotions without letting them get to you, which is good. However, the people who are going down that road are like 15, 20, when they've yet to be truly angry, sad, or elated. For that philosophy to be applied well, you need to have lived first and then use it. With nihilism, I always thought it was like a centrist philosophy. It's like, okay, so what if nothing matters? Do you still not love the people around you? It's a childish philosophy and just ignores emotion. At least with absurdism, which I think is what people want when they buy into stoicism, there's an acceptance of pain and suffering and changing the context of said pain and suffering. In saying all this, we see these issues for about 30 seconds to a minute, and that's all we really know about certain issues, because it's easier to clip someone being beaten to death or someone setting themselves on fire than it is to see the dismay of a bill being denied. We're living through very extreme times, and with the whiplash that these problems give us, it's pretty hard to stay concentrated when you're still processing the last thing that just happened. I think because we see the rise and fall of so many things all the time, and people who don't know anything promote stoicism and nihilism during these times to cope with so much emotion that we should just not care. But we should care. It's completely natural to care about things, and I think people are attacking the idea of caring about things more, rather than attacking the formatting of information with it being so sensationalized and dramatic. Nothing can be mediocre. It either has to be the best thing ever, or a masterpiece, or it's literal dog shit. The worst thing you've ever seen. So I'd say you should still feel emotions, as without it, we're not really living.
Ladies and gentlemen, bro cooked. Thank you, Taslo, I appreciate it. I think there's a lot to unpack in there, so hopefully that struck kind of a chord with you. Throughout this video, I've spoken about the negativity of judgment and its effects on others, but I think one part of that isn't discussed a lot is the personal level of separation that comes from judgment. Away from the societal reasons we have for judgment or cynicism, a lot of it can be personal. I find that when I'm personally like not doing great, I tend to become more cynical, which sort of pushes people away from me. And for me, this often acts as like a signpost of, oh, something is bothering me. Oftentimes when something's resting on your mind, you don't really realize it until it bursts into the forefront. Me personally, at least anyway. And I think a lot of managing mental health is spotting these before they develop and take over. And judgment for me has been a great way of measuring that. I think if you're truly healthy, you won't put too much into other people's actions, as you likely aren't thinking about them that much. You know, you see a lot of people online now spending a lot of time thinking about other people and what other people are doing with their lives in the privacy of their own home and things like that. And to me, that indicates some level of like a mental health issue, right? Because you are devoting so much to someone else. It's very easy when something is bothering you personally about you to push it onto other people or to blame society for that said thing. For example, if you don't think that you're productive enough, whatever that means, but if you don't think you're productive enough, you could very easily turn that around and be like, why is social media making us addicted and things like that? And while that is a valid point, yeah, you are turning it on something else because you don't want to confront the fact that you can just control it yourself, because that's more difficult. Realistically, it's really difficult to use social media healthfully. It's very easy to get obsessed with it. So in the same way that you can do that with social media, you can do that with judgment, where you can put a lens on people and you can view people a certain way. What we have to realize is that's something coming from you for a reason. You are not judgmental and negative for no reason. If this is someone doing something in person, that's completely understandable, but I'm talking about like when you see someone doing something on the internet and it genuinely like annoys you for an hour. That's not normal. So I hope next time you find yourself like being judgmental to someone on the internet, you question why you're doing that, because there might be a reason. But apart from that, that'll be it from me today. I know I disappeared for a month and then came back. You can expect me to do it again, to be honest. Thank you for Taslo for appearing on this, and expect some news from me soon. I have 2 videos that I'm currently writing for this channel, and one of them is a sort of an announcement, so you'll see them probably very close together, but I'm not sure if they'll be within the next week or if they'll be within the next month. If you got this far, thank you for listening, and as always, I hope you have a great day. Pull over if you're tired, and bye.